Alright, ladies and gents. Alright, we are talking about targeting an individual, or some people call it organized gang stalking. We're going to talk about what it is, how it's done, signs, symptoms that you may see. The main reason I'm doing this is, number one, to prove that yes, it actually does exist and that it is true. People who dismiss it or say, oh no, that's true, you're just thinking about it too much, or you're just paying attention too much, that they're wrong and that it is true. And that you'll see that what I say, that there's going to be a lot of other people that are saying the exact same thing, saying that type of stuff has been happening to me, and it's not just by coincidence. I'm going to go into detail, the most elaborate probably you've ever seen, how it's done, what to look out for. And then number two is to actually help prevent this from happening to other people. So when you start seeing signs and symptoms of gang stalking or targeting an individual, to help protect yourself from it escalating any further. Because typically what happens is done for long periods of time, could be months, years, and a lot of it has to do with gathering information through people that know you, actually following what you do, information on your computer, what other types of activities you do, what time you wake up. It's gathering information. What happens is typically set up and they try to plan it for a specific event to occur. And so they really need that event to happen. So it's all leading up typically to a point. So this will help people to distinguish between if this is an organized gang stalking targeting signs and symptoms, and you can stop it from occurring or getting any worse. Like I said, escalating any further, you can actually help yourself. It's also a video to help people who maybe are starting to see the signs and they don't know what's going on. Well, if you came across this video and you watch it, you're going to know that this person's saying exactly what's happening to me. And you're going to know that, hey, you should start looking out. Prepare yourself. It's also to family members and friends of people who have maybe said something like this, that, hey, people are after me, or someone's going through my car, or someone talked to me through the TV, or all these other signs that people just go, oh, you're just overthinking things, you're freaking out. I'm going to get into all these little details later, but like I said, maybe someone who is discredited and you never believe them as a family member, a friend, maybe to look deeper into that and think about what they said and what I'm going to talk about here, and if maybe they sounded like the exact same thing, maybe what they were saying was true. This is also to bring to light what this is, and that yes, your government is involved. There is absolutely 100% local police departments involved. There is absolutely 100% government employees involved, absolutely. And so we're going to prove that, and we're going to shed some light on it and what your government has been doing, what they're spending their money on to innocent people and victims. This has been happening for years and decades. I like to correlate it, or you could say it's related to what you see with the African Americans or minorities with the police department, right? Within the last 5 years or so, you start seeing these shootings of people who don't have guns on them, the killings of African Americans or minorities. You see the assault on these types of people. Now, is that just a new thing here? Did it just spring up here in the last 5-10 years? No. What's happening? Coming to light, because now everyone has cell phones and they all have video cameras. So now what's happening is that even people who don't have a lot of money, if they're going to have one thing, they're going to have a camera or a cell phone, and it's going to have a camera. So now everyone's walking around with a camera, and they can actually catch these events while they're occurring to people. And now we actually have the evidence that proves they are assaulting, African Americans, minorities, shooting innocent people. And now it's becoming a big deal because of the evidence and people having cameras. But it's not new. This has been happening for decades and decades and decades. It's just coming to light. And it's the same thing with this targeting individual and organized gang stalking. Now it's just coming to light because it's just occurring. You can maybe hear more stories like mine and see that there's no way that this can just be a coincidence. And it's coming out that, hey, maybe it is true. Maybe even if you're a doctor and you're watching this video and you've had people come in saying things like what I'm saying, and you've written it off and you said, no, what you're saying, you're just focusing on things too much. And maybe you can actually see that, hey, maybe what they are saying is true, and all you gotta do is just look a little bit deeper and just actually listen to what people are saying and do the simplest follow-up or any type of research at all, that you'd see that these things are occurring and they are true. But the biggest thing about this is discrediting someone, and that's the biggest part about targeting an individual in organized gang stalking, is to discredit someone and trying to ruin them financially. This is a government type program, okay? So whether they are in the government or it's an ex-employee of the government. They're using technologies and strategies and tactics within the government. Okay, and this is exactly what the government does to discredit people within their own system. So what I'm saying here is that there's no way that what I'm saying can be made up, because there's people who are going to watch this in the government and they know this is exactly what they do. You can't discredit this. There's too much evidence and there's too much proof. But now, like I said, what I'm going to get into is just what happened in my experience. I'm not going to name names or places or people or anything like that. I'm just going to tell you my experience, what happened, and I'm doing that for a specific reason. Then I'm going to go through the experience, what happened, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to elaborate on it and how it's done and what these strategies mean in the end. And typically, like I said, it's going to lead up to a specific event. All this gathering information, it's typically about setting up, right? You have to gather a lot of information, it's done. And they want a specific event to occur. And this is the same reason that fake news has come out. Because now fake news is just a way to discredit real news that's getting out to the media. Whether people are leaking information to the media, that's true, or people on YouTube telling a story, that's true. They're now created this fake news agenda across all media, so now they can discredit anything that comes to the newspaper, anything on TV, any source that comes, and oh, that's fake news, right? And then that's why they're discrediting it, because this type of information I'm about to give out to you is what's true, and it has been happening to people, innocent people who have done nothing wrong. Then there's people within the government they're trying to discredit. There could also be multiple reasons why this is occurring to someone. But there is one thing that is involved. Government is absolutely involved, and that means any government employee. So whether that's a local law enforcement, police officer, someone within the police department, a part of an FBI investigation, CIA, it could be a research project, collecting information, gathering information on new technologies or medicine, do it legally and have a research study done because it'll be illegal. So they test these new technologies, medicines on people that just no one's going to believe, and they can gather the information. They're doing it completely illegal, and that's what's happening. So like I said, I'm going to get into it and then go over it in elaborate detail why they did these things, the certain things in the event that happened. We'll go from there. So think about this here. All the millions of people, right, that have gone to a doctor, said something about, someone came and talked to me through the TV. Okay, I'm going to shed a light on that, and it involves this. And this is why it's part of a government program, okay? Because you're getting customized TV to you. I could do a whole story on this myself, and this is part of the strategy. It's being brainwashing, and I can actually prove that it is true. And I'm going to go into that further detail, and imagine that all these people, all these innocent people that have said something like that, said, oh, people are after me, the government's after me. Well, stop and think about that for 1 second. If someone is paranoid about something, okay, you could literally be paranoid about anything on the face of planet Earth. I mean, you could just make up anything. It could literally be anything. There's rocks falling from the sky. Who knows, whatever it is. Okay, the point is that out of all the things that anyone could imagine or think of that to be paranoid about, why does it seem to be occurring over and over again that they tend to say the government? That doesn't make any sense. That there's, out of all these people, they just randomly all think the government's after them up, right? Why is that? Think about it. And there is a specific reason for that. Anyways, I'm going to go into detail over this more and more, and you're going to learn about how and why this is done. There is specific reason. The main thing is that you're going to learn that it is true. And guess what? You're government. You're a terrorist. Congratulations. Alrighty, we're back. So I just did the intro into targeting and gang stalking an individual. And so now I'm going to tell you my story. I'm going to go through elaborate detail of kind of just what happened in my experience. I'm not going to name names or places or people or anything like that. Just the experience, what happened, everything that occurred, and then after that I'm going to go back through it and explain in detail over all those things and why they did it. Basically, like I said, just going to go through what happened first. Let's start with that right now. So I used to live in Southern California, and then I ended up moving up to the Northern California, more in the Central Valley area. What happened was, once I moved up there, I'd been looking for a job, and it took me a while to find something. Eventually I started getting some emails from a company, and I never looked at it because I thought, oh, it's too good to be true. They're sending me job opportunities through the email. I was just thinking, no, that's too good to be true. You're not going to find a good job. Like, they're sending it out an email to me, and then I kept getting them. And so eventually I did just reply. It's like, oh, well, let's just see what they have to say. And like, oh, there's an open spot down here in Southern California. And then I was like, oh no, but is there anything up here? I moved up to more Northern California, and like, oh yeah, there is an opening. Oh, what a coincidence, right? The same spot too. I was like, sure, I'll do an interview. So I went to this job, did a phone interview, that was it. Then I went down there, did a face-to-face, and then that was it, and I got hired. And I just thought the whole thing did kind of seem almost too good to be true. Like, I got this email, they keep sending me emails to my email address. Then all of a sudden, oh, the spot was in Southern California, but we have a same spot, you know, just open just for you, right where you live. And then I just have the phone interview and then get the job right away. And I was like, man, that just seemed a little bit too easy, kind of weird right there, I thought. Anyway, so I get this job and I start working there. And so to go into detail, before I moved from Southern California, I had torn my knee. My MCL was almost a full tear. And then I also popped my meniscus, came off the bone. And at the time, I didn't have good medical insurance, and I barely could walk without a brace for quite a while. It hurt really bad, and from someone I knew, it recommended, hey, this doctor that they just go see because it was cash and it was cheap, and it was people who didn't really have medical insurance, and I didn't really have an option, so I thought, oh, that's better than nothing, to at least get some help there. Anyway, so I had been seeing this doctor. When I moved up here, I had only been seeing him. What I did was I still went down to see that doctor, and he already knew everything that was going on with me. I had also had a shoulder surgery before that still hurt. And anyway, so I would see this doctor. Comes to be that this doctor's office that I go to, this pain clinic, it was more like a pain clinic, so there was a lot of people who were going there that ended up getting prescribed a lot of pain prescription type medication or opioids. So right around the same time I probably got my job and into it a little bit more, you know, someone within the office, I'm not going to say who, but would say, hey, you know, we're being investigated by the FBI. There'd be videos too of people who would go into the pharmacy in the area right next to this clinic, and the pharmacist would actually refuse to fill the prescription from this clinic that I go to patients that would go there, and they go, oh no, we're not going to prescribe this medication, even though he was a legal doctor and it was a legal prescription, and the pharmacist refusing to fill a legal prescription and saying, oh, this doctor's being investigated and things like that. So they would actually not fill these prescriptions. So obviously, why would someone say that from who works inside of this clinic? Is that for fun? Like, oh, the FBI is investigating? Well, that seems kind of weird, right? The fact that pharmacists in the local area are actually turning down prescriptions. If you ever watch on TV these pain clinics, a lot of them do prescribe, I guess, a lot of pain medication. A lot of these got shut down. They were under investigation from the DEA and the FBI. So this made sense. Why I didn't come up with this story that this was being investigated by the FBI, okay? Someone told me that. And there's videos of pharmacists giving people's prescriptions back. So obviously it seems pretty clear that yes, the clinic was absolutely 100% under investigation. Okay, no ifs, ands, or buts. Pretty clear. During this time, I'm going there, and this stuff is coming up while I'm starting this new job. And I'm driving, you know, all that distance there and back. I've done nothing illegal. I'm just seeing this doctor. And so now I'm going there and coming back. And all of a sudden, I start to notice, like, right when I come back from this doctor, my car is always gone through. You know, papers rustled around, people moving stuff inside my car, glove compartment open. Even things on the outside of my car, I noticed my license plate, there'd actually be bolts removed and taken off and twisted, like someone had looked behind there. People are going through my car. I mean, that's obvious. Okay, and I tend to notice that it would always be right when I come back from this doctor's office, you know, maybe within like a day or two. So now again, during all this time, I'm kind of like, that's kind of weird, you know, that, you know, all this stuff is happening. They're talking about that at the doctor's office, you know, the pharmacists are, you know, refusing prescriptions. People are going through my car. Seem weird. I'm like, you know, maybe, like, am I caught up in some type of investigation or something here? Like, who's going through my car, and why does it tend to only happen when I come back from this doctor's office? So that didn't make sense to me. But anyway, as I'm working at my job, over, you know, span, I'd say like 3, 4, 5 months, I start noticing there's a trend here that what happens. So the manager who used to be the manager, he leaves, and then all of a sudden one of the employees who was a coworker now becomes a manager. And so now this is all occurring, at the beginning of this job. I'm going from the doctor, people are going through my cards, obvious. Then my manager, he leaves, a new manager comes in who was a current employee, now becomes manager. You start to see a change in the environment, and now you actually start seeing some of these signs start occurring of this targeting an individual. So first off, it starts at a little bit about my job is that I'm always pretty much outside the office. I would be outside driving around my car throughout, pretty much all over different customers or seeing new business. So I'm outside of my car most of the time. And a lot of the times I might come home for lunch or for a break or something like that in the area. I started noticing that right when I go into the gate, into the neighborhood, or right when I pull up in my driveway, or right when I put the key in to go into my house, all of a sudden I get a call. And it'll be from like my manager or coworker or someone from the office. And I started noticing, a few times, that's kind of weird, right when I happen to get to my house. And it happened over and over again. So right when I pull into the driveway, all of a sudden I get a call from someone. And you could chalk that up, sure, as a random occurrence. Well, yeah, someone called you from your work. You happen to be at your house. The difference is when it starts occurring at a high rate, okay, over and over again, that right when you pull into the driveway, right when you get home, all of a sudden you get a call from a coworker, you obviously start to see the trend that, why is someone calling me right when I get to my house, right? As if they know that you're at your house. Almost as if they're saying, we know that you're at your house, right? So those are the first signs. Now, some of the second signs that I see is that now eventually from that moving forward, we start seeing private conversations that I'm having in my house from the night before. Really random or off the wall topics or just any random type of conversation that you have the night before. Is that you'll notice is that all of a sudden they bring those up the next day. Really fast, like within the next day or maybe the day after, but it'd be really quick. And it's just enough so I see is that you make that correlation. But anyways, is that you'll just see the next day, all of a sudden, whatever you talked about, they'll either bring it up or, there'll be like a picture or they'll go to lunch. Let's say if you ate dinner even, what you maybe had talked about or that you wanted that the next day, they'll be like, oh, I really feel like that. For example, let's say again, something really, so it'd be really a random occurrence to talk about something really off the wall and then have someone bring it up the next day. Good example that would be, let's say you just completely off the wall, just making this up, just say you were talking about carrot soup, okay, the night before you went to work. Okay, and you're saying, oh, I haven't had carrot soup in a while. Hey, let's make some carrot soup. Let's get carrot soup or whatever, something like that, right? Something really off the wall, random conversation. And the next day when you come to work, all of a sudden someone comes in and they're eating carrot soup or something like that. Or it could be that they go, oh, hey, you know what? Sounds really good today. Is carrot soup for lunch. You guys want to go get some soup? So that would happen. Or what they would say is they might not even say anything and then just do it. Again, like I said, they bring it in. Or they say, hey, you guys want to go to lunch today? And then they go and then they get carrot soup for their lunch when you go with them. Okay? So you start seeing that. And hey, I fully understand and agree that you would just say, oh, okay, they got carrot soup. They talked about it the same day after. Random occurrence. Completely agree with that. Could be a random occurrence, sure. But the thing is, what I'm talking about is that when it starts happening over and over and over again, it's impossible. You can't have a random occurrence at that statistically high of a rate, especially the next day after you talk about something. It's impossible. It defies the laws of Oz and statistics. You can't just have a random conversation the next day, someone, oh, let's get carrot soup. Another example that could be that maybe you watched a movie at your house. A really off-the-wall movie, again, some really old movie, that maybe a lot of people haven't even heard of. And then the next day you go to work, and then all of a sudden, oh, you know what, I just watched a movie last night, blah, blah, blah. And they mention it's the same movie that you watch. Now, again, a random occurrence, sure, that could happen. Chalk it up as a random occurrence sometimes. But like I said, what's happening is that you see it over and over and over again, and it's too statistically high a rate for it to be a random occurrence. So you start over a period of time, you might not even notice, maybe even for weeks. Maybe some people you start to notice sooner, some people not. But what you do eventually notice is that whatever I'm talking about or doing, inside my house, all of a sudden that's occurring at the office in some form. So whether that's someone saying it or just getting something and bringing an object in or eating a certain type of food, is that you'll notice that over and over again, okay? Another example of this type of situation would be maybe you just ate a meal, a dinner, inside of your house and you didn't mention anything of it. Let's say you had, I don't know, had chicken parmesan or something. And then the next day they would have chicken parmesan. Okay, so another example of how this would work would be like, let's say the night before you went to work, you woke up in the morning, you go to work, and you see that your window's broken. And there's a golf ball through there, and you see that the golf ball went through the window and broke it. And when you get to your desk in the morning, there's a golf ball on your desk from who put it that there, not you, right? It's pretty blatant. So people that say, oh, you're overreacting or overthinking, not really. I mean, that's pretty blatant. How can you get more blatant than that? And the point is that when you explain it to people, oh, they put a golf ball, and they go, oh, they put a golf ball on your desk, big deal. But the thing is that, again, is that once you start noticing these things occurring over and over again, obviously it's not random. Basically saying, I know when you get to your house by calling you, right? I know what you're saying privately inside your house, okay? And now I even know things that are happening, like, for instance, the car, broken window with the golf ball that I just, as an example. Okay, or food that you ate the night before where you didn't even talk or you didn't even mention it, and they bring that in. I mean, this keeps happening over and over again. And eventually you make that connection and go, this is weird. Why do they keep mentioning the same exact things that I do? You might catch on to it, but just think it's kind of weird, not really understand it. And as we go on further, anything that you do on your internet or on your laptop or cell phone that you web searches. So let's say you Googled a vacation or a trip or something the night before, like Las Vegas, Nevada, and you looked up some hotels or something. And then the next day that you go into work, they're going to say, oh, I really feel like going to Las Vegas lately. That would be really fun. And now, what do we have? We have those three. There's about 3 or 4 different things happening. We have phone calls, like when you get to your house. You have things that you're privately saying inside your house being repeated the next day. You have things that you're searching now on your computer that are that they're saying again the next day. So this is all occurring. And then now the next step is, now when I come in, now there's random objects that don't make any sense inside the office. Really, again, off the wall, completely random objects that no one discussed, that makes absolutely no sense. And so what I got was, all of a sudden I get a little dog brace or whatever, if they have surgery, that goes around their neck on my desk. No one talked about a dog. No one mentioned anything about dog having a neck brace or anything. Like, this doesn't even make sense. What's the point of it? Why is this here? And then if you ask them, who put the dog brace on my desk? And they go, oh, until you get that next sale for the month, you have a dog brace on there. And you're like, okay. And like me, because I don't even really care, honestly. Like, things don't really even bother me. I'm like, okay, like, whatever. I could honestly care less, So a few weeks later, all of a sudden you get like a baby bottle now on my desk. I'm like, what the heck? Like, no one mentioned a baby or baby bottle or anything like that. So again, completely random, an object, and it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's on your desk. And then you say the same thing, like, what's up with the baby bottle? Like, someone have a pregnancy scare or something? I even said that as a joke. And then they just go, oh, I don't know, So someone put it there, I guess. And then, so again, completely random object, makes absolutely no sense. You have 2 objects already. You got a dog brace, now a baby ball. Both have no correlation whatsoever to anything that anyone's ever discussed or talked about. Makes absolutely no sense. Now you move on to, again, more objects. So now there'll be, for example, there was a Superman t-shirt, for like a little kid Superman t-shirt that someone pinned up on the wall. And now again, what's the point of that? That's really weird, A random object, again, just put up on the wall that doesn't make sense. And when you ask someone about, like, oh, what's up with the, the Superman, like, little weird t-shirt or whatever, and they go, oh, I don't know, I liked it. And then you go, okay, that's weird. So again, you're just going, these things are, what's up with these random objects that don't make any sense? After a while, like, it's kind of weird. Now progressing further is that now you start getting pictures or comics type things, or with pictures with little sayings, you know, that people put in the office normally, like, oh, a little comic strip, something like that. But instead, it's kind of like a picture with a saying, but again, completely random and doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's just completely off the wall. It's not like a normal comic strip where you can read and be like, oh, that's a funny joke, you know? It's just completely off the wall. So again, what happened was, an example would be, they put up a picture of a bull, like in Spain where people run from the bulls. Okay, and there's a bull and the guy's running from a bull, and it's a picture, and then just below it says tradition. Like, right? That doesn't make any sense. If you're in there and you see it, you go like, you know, it makes sense if someone talked about it or something, so that you could get what it meant, so you could understand what it means. So now more random objects. Now the next thing is that you'll start seeing random pictures or like comic strips, you know, in the office that you would typically normally see, but instead completely random, doesn't make sense. It's not like a normal comic strip where people put in the office and you read it like, oh, that's funny. It'll just be like a picture with a little saying or something that makes absolutely no sense and completely off the wall. Again, another example that would be, there's a picture that was put up, and it would be like, it was a picture of a bull and a guy like running from it. No, it was like from in Spain, like running from the bulls, and then it just says tradition at the bottom. And then again, you go, that's pretty random. That doesn't make any sense at all. And then when you ask someone, you ask one of them and you go like, oh, like, what's up with the bull and this guy running from it? And then say tradition. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, what tradition? Like, oh, the tradition or whatever. I'm like, no, and then you just kind of dismiss it and you're like, okay, that's super weird again. And then again, you get another random picture like that with a saying, again, that doesn't make any sense. There's no correlation. No one talked about it. It doesn't make sense. It's not a comic strip or, that's just a comic joke. It's just a picture, possibly, usually maybe with a saying that doesn't make any sense at all. And so again, you go, okay, this is completely random as well. It makes absolutely no sense. So now you have all these things. So now let's go over those. So now, right now, we have the phone calls right when you get to your house, right when you get to the door, okay? You have private conversations that you're talking about in your house. The next day, they're talking about the same thing at work, or bringing an object or doing something about what you talked about. Then you also now have anything that you do on your computer, or search, or do a search or look up or anything like that, or on your cell phone. Now they're bringing that up as well, and that could, again, in any form, someone mention it or do something. And then now we have objects, random objects, like the dog brace, the baby bottle, little t-shirt. Now we have random comics that make absolutely no sense, as completely random. They make absolutely no sense at all. So now you're saying, why is this happening? This doesn't make any sense. But again, you just be like, oh well, like I did, like, oh well, like I could care less, really. So now all these things are occurring over and over again at a statistically high rate for it to be a random occurrence. It cannot be a random occurrence. It defies mathematical odds. And it's happening over and over again at a high rate, all these different things. And now these things keep occurring and keep occurring. Leads up to the event, what I'm going to tell you. So now all this is happening. It's been almost a year since I've been at my job. Now all these things are occurring. Now coming up to about the beginning of November in 2015, all of a sudden, my trunk keeps popping open. I had bought a new car a few months before. Now there's never been any issues with the trunk popping open. Nothing ever wrong. There's been no issues. Nothing has been driving fine. No issues. Trunk never popping. Now months later, all of a sudden, now right before this event occurred, now beginning of November, all of a sudden, my trunk just keeps popping open randomly. When I get to work in the morning and go in there for a half hour, an hour, I come out, my trunk's popped open. I go to lunch, come back out from lunch, my trunk's popped open. Come home, my trunk's popped open when I leave my house. When I wake up in the morning, I'll go to bed at night, my trunk will be closed, not even driving or anything. I wake up in the morning, my trunk's popped open. And then now I'm double checking, I'm making sure, I'm like, okay, is it the key? Am I pressing the button? Am I pressing the button in my pocket? Is there something wrong with the trunk? So I test it, push the button, it works perfectly fine. Close it, nothing's wrong, stays closed. It will be closed until I press the button. I press the button, it works fine. I close it, it works absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with it, it doesn't pop back open. Just when I go to bed in the morning, it's popped open. Or go into lunch or somewhere and then come back and all of a sudden it's popped open. So now my trunk keeps getting popped open. I find that very odd. I'm like, how is this happening? And now I'm even double checking. So now right before I go to bed, my car's parked in the driveway, and then I put my keys on the desk. I make sure I don't even get near or touch. I check to make sure my trunk's closed. It's fine. I wake up in the morning, it's popped. Obviously, it seems that someone's obviously popping the trunk or going through it or something like that, right? And they're doing it on purpose so that I notice that every time I leave, my trunk's popped. Okay? Anyway, so then I go in there one day and I put a note on there. So when the trunk pops up, it hangs down and says, "Number 1, smile, you're on camera." And then it says, "Number 2, you've just been exposed to a chemical, ... enjoy," with a smiley face. Now, right after that note, I noticed again within about a day or two, I checked a seat and it's pulled down from the trunk. I had it on there good. It seemed to be that as if someone did rip it down. Now anyways, a day or two after that, like I said, now all of a sudden, from the trunk popping, all of a sudden now someone goes through my car about a couple days later after that note. Again, where my glove compartment's open, papers all over. Someone obviously went through my car. They can't just move by themselves. And that was parked in my driveway at my house in a gated community. So someone obviously did it. I didn't do it. Papers can't just move by themselves. So then that happens. And then I start noticing that now also a day or two after that, I come home and I start noticing that someone has gone through my stuff. I have email addresses and passwords and things like that written down in notepads. I have different email addresses and passwords for a lot of different things, and it was under my bed. And someone took that notepad and it was gone. And I have a door and it's locked. I went in my room again a couple days later, and all there's cushioning from under my bed, and it was pulled out. You could obviously see that someone had went under my bed. There's cushioning that had been pulled out, so someone had obviously been in my room. Someone had took my email addresses and passwords. Someone's now going through my house and in my room. And now, also when I go out into my car in the morning, there'll be like a random object, like a little piece of paper or something, like on my seat. You could chalk that up as a random occurrence, like, oh, maybe it's a piece of paper that fell out, but when you know this is already happening, and I know for a fact that there was nothing there, now they're putting there to say, hey, like, look, I'm going into your car, and they leave a little piece of paper. Again, in my room, things are being actually taken, and the cushioning from my bed was ripped out, so obviously someone's going now in my house, now in my car, and now they're trying to actually make assignment to say, like, just put a little piece of paper there to say, hey, we're going through your car. So now if you tell a family member or friend, like, all these things are happening, and you go, I woke up in the morning, there's a little piece of paper on my chair, and I know it wasn't there, they put it there. And that's the whole thing, is that that's just totally random. It sounds stupid. So if you say that to anyone else, who would put a piece of paper in your car, right? You just sound stupid. Oh, maybe it was yours, or maybe it's an accident, or you didn't see it. But again, once you realize that all these things that are occurring, that have been happening, and now you know for a fact that there wasn't a piece of paper in there, that you know obviously it's clear and it's blatant. No, someone did go through my car and someone is doing that. And see, it really only becomes clear to that person, whereas someone else would just be like, oh yeah, piece of paper. But see, it's clear to that person. The fact is that once you start saying that, and you see this strategy, if you start mentioning all these things that are happening, now you mention piece of paper in your car, for instance, or the trunk popping, you start saying that to people and they go, oh, well, maybe it's random, and they're not seeing a connection. But it's obviously, and it's clear that someone obviously is doing that, and that person knows it. Oh, so now you got people going into the house, into my room, into my car. Even after that, now all of a sudden I start getting a sticky type substance on my steering wheel. Now it'd almost be like almost like maybe a glue stick almost, or maybe like a pine tar, probably a little bit stickier than like paste or something like that. But it just, you can't really see it. You can feel it on your hands, a sticky substance. And I kept noticing that, so I'm like, oh, this is really weird. And it's obvious again that it's obviously some sort of sticky substance on my steering wheel, and I didn't put it there, and obviously someone put it there. And the question is, well, what is that sticky substance? Because there's obviously something on my steering wheel, and there's obviously something on my hand, and it's sticky, and even when you wash it, it would be hard to come off. You could feel it on your fingers. And now after this substance was getting on my hand, all of a sudden I started be driving and my hand would go completely shaking, and my heart would just start racing and pounding. And none of this had occurred before, even after people are going in my house and in my car and all this. And I've noticed that I didn't have this. So it's not like I'm saying, oh, my anxiety and all that. This was directly from the substance on the steering wheel. And again, you see that strategy is you start mentioning piece of paper in your car. Now, if you're saying to people, oh, my hand's shaking and my heart, oh, my heart's racing. What you're doing is it looks like, oh, you're just having anxiety and you're freaking out. Okay, and once this started happening, I realized that that was a strategy. You know, I mentioned the paper and some of these things to people, very little, not really worried, just mentioning it, and they would say, oh, you know, exactly that, like, oh, it's probably yours, you don't even know. Or then I'd say, you know, the sticky substance on the car, and they, oh, you know, maybe it's something else. And I could see that there is a trend. They obviously want you to say that someone going through your room in your car, a piece of paper in your car, that then now the sticky substance. And now when your hand's shaking, and it is directly from the substance that was put on there, but no one, again, no one else is going to see that. And I could see that I didn't want to go to the doctor because I knew if I went there, whatever this substance was, that I would be like, oh, you know, I'm having shakes, a weird heart pounding, and there's this sticky substance on my car. They're going to be like, oh, that's just your anxiety and you're just freaking out. And now that's documented, like you went to the doctor for anxiety. Okay, so that's why once I was like, no, whatever this is, it's something coming from this substance on my steering wheel, but I'm not going to go to the doctor because I know if I went to the doctor, that's probably what they were going to say. And I could see that obviously there's some type of strategy going on here. So I'm like, I'm just not going to go to the doctor because I could see that's what they wanted me to do. So I didn't go to the doctor. Now that's happening for about a week. Now people going through my room, in my car, this sticky substance on my steering wheel. And this is now about leading up to the week before Thanksgiving. The day right before I have my break and I'm not going to go back to work for the rest of the week. All of a sudden that night, I get a major, all the little shaking and heart that was kind of bothering me. This was major. Man, I couldn't even barely walk. My legs were actually going like that. They were completely shaking. My heart was pounding. I was actually, my skin was turning flush and red. And I go, what is going on? You know, obviously, I'm like, whatever drug. I obviously got drugged with something. And I was like, what is this, you know? And again, I still didn't even want to go to the doctor because I knew at that point that that was what they wanted me to do. And it's like they wanted to try to force me to go. So whatever they gave me, obviously what they did it way stronger than what was on that substance because I couldn't, my legs went like that. I could barely even walk. My heart was pounding, flush, everything. I obviously knew I'd been given a drug. I mean, it's clear. It's not anxiety, okay? And it's not shaking all of a sudden. I can't even walk now, whatever drug they gave me. I realize I'm being drugged. All these things are happening. The statistically high odds that are occurring about the conversations, the objects, all these things. The going through my car, now going through my room, objects missing from my room, okay? The sticky substance on my steering wheel, the trunk popping. Now all these things are happening and now I'm getting drugged here, obviously. It's clear, okay? And now no one around this can recognize anything of this, okay? So it's only directly to that person. You know, you mentioned the paper going through it and they think, you know, you're just overreacting. And now it's like you're getting drugged and it's clear. Which they do want you to do is like go to the doctor for this because once you go in there and you just say something like, oh, the shaking, the symptoms, they're most likely, especially a general practitioner doctor is just going to be like, oh, you're just anxiety, high heart rate and all this. And that's what it's going to get documented as. And I did not want to do that. So that's why I just tried to refuse to go. Long story short, so what ended up happening when I got drugged and all these other things are happening. So, and then what ended up happening was that people who lived in the house, and I did say this, and I'm like, this is getting ridiculous now where I'm getting drugged. And, you know, we ended up having a conversation. What ended up happening, to make a long story short, is someone ended up calling the police because of this, you know, our discussion. Due to this incident, and I'm going to tell you, I did not break one law. I did nothing wrong. I didn't break any law. I didn't attack anyone. I did absolutely nothing wrong, nothing at all that I broke any law whatsoever. But when the police was called, what ended up happening, like I said, to make a long story short, that call that was made and the incident that occurred, even though I broke absolutely not one law, ended up costing me my job. And like I said, I'm not going to get into all the details of that for a specific reason. I'm just going to tell you that I didn't break any law, absolutely not one law, and because of that incident and the police coming out, that I did end up losing my job from that. Now, this is where saying the same things the next day, the random objects, random pictures or sayings, or doing all these things, the phone calls, what you look on the internet and all this starts adding up. That event had occurred, what they probably wanted in one form or another, all that stuff that was adding up that led to this event occurring, which they probably wanted one form or another, whether how it ended up working out or not. They figured something probably would happen with this event, and this is where the part comes in where all those things that were random and didn't really make sense of why they were doing it, why would statistically high odds that the next day they're talking about the same things. All those little things that I talked about are going to make sense now. Now the incident had occurred, I now lose my job, and now all those things make sense to that person. Now there's my story of what happened. Now I'm going to elaborate again why those things were done and what happened after, and now how all those things made sense and that it was set up specifically, and it was set up for an event to occur, and it was set up strategically like this on purpose. Woohoo! I'm back, yeah. Alright, so what have we talked about so far? So we talked about leading up to the event, what happened during the event, and now we're going to talk about after the event. So the things that happened. We know that during the event, like I said, what ended up happening was I ended up losing my job because of the event and how everything worked out. Now we're going to talk about after the event. Is all those things that didn't really make sense before, such as the calling right when you get to your house, or the random objects in the office, or the random pictures in the office. They didn't really make sense at the time, but it was obvious that you knew one thing, that whatever you're saying inside of your house, they'd be repeated the next day. Or whatever you're doing inside your house, a random object will be brought in, or a random picture will be brought into the office, and it never really made sense at the time. Not only are those things going to make sense to that person, but there's also going to be new tactics and new strategies involved after the event. So you're going to get new strategies, new things that are going to happen, new signs that you're going to see. And then you're also going to be able to realize that all those things that didn't make sense now make sense, and we'll get into that more. So now after the event occurred and I had lost my job, now what are some of the first signs that I noticed? So right after the event occurred and I lose my job, the first signs that I start to notice is that every time I go onto my computer and there's the ads in the corner of the computer, I start to realize that there's a little Superman t-shirt ads. And it's always there. It's constantly there. When I had never seen those before, and it was never there. And it wasn't that I just now noticing it. No, I had done no searches for Superman, nothing. So that little ad in the top right corner is always going to be that Superman t-shirt ad. And it's the exact same t-shirt, the little t-shirt that was hung inside the office. Not only do you consistently see the Superman t-shirt ad, but it doesn't matter what website you go to, or where you go, that no matter what ad you're going to see, it's a Superman t-shirt ad. Okay, not only that, again, it's going to be the random objects. The random objects that were placed in the office, or the random pictures with no saying, that none of those things made sense, right? Well, again, now not only do you see Superman t-shirt ads in every ad that you go to on every website, but you're going to start seeing now baby bottle ads. Okay, or you're going to see dog brace ads always. So now what do you see there? What's the trend? That consistently, no matter what website you go to, it's always going to be based around one of those random objects that was placed inside your office, or a random picture, like I discussed, a random picture that didn't make sense, that maybe had a little saying, or maybe it was just a picture and had no meaning whatsoever, and you thought, that's strange, that doesn't make sense. Well, see, now you can see it's starting to come together. That's why they did those things, because now it's in all your ads. The next thing I start to notice is with my TV. And I start to notice now that every single channel that I go to, there's always a dog with a dog brace. Fairly quickly, no matter what channel, what show is on, I'll sit down and start watching TV, and fairly quickly, you're going to see there's a dog that comes running up in a dog brace. Okay, or then you change the channel. All of a sudden, all these shows involve a dog with dog braces. Or every show is involved with a baby, right? You'll sit down, start watching TV, and no matter what channel you go to, what show's on, all of a sudden you turn to the channel, and some lady's like holding a baby with, a baby ball in his hand. She's running down the street like someone's chasing her, and the whole show's about, a little infant baby. And this lady's, running down the street holding the baby, or there'll be something involved around a baby sitting in the crib, or the show will be based around some lady who's pregnant. So again, do you see the trend there? So now you'll start to see that no matter what channel or what TV show that you go to, it's on every single channel. So what's happening is you're getting a customized television programming. So no matter what channel you go to or what show's on, it's always going to be based around one of those things. Just like when you mention things inside your house and then you go to your office and then the next day they mention the same exact thing that you talked about, or a movie you watch, or what you ate for dinner, and they bring that in, or they bring in an object or something to let you know they knew. It's the same thing with the TV. Now, you might be watching it for a week or, a few days. The one thing is that fairly quickly you're going to start to notice that whatever channel you go to, that there's always going to be some dog running up with a dog brace, or some pregnant lady, or some lady running from people holding a baby in her hand and the baby's got a baby bottle. And so you'll start to notice, again, you see the trend, it's always based around one of those things, one of those random objects or a picture in your office. You're getting customized television program without a doubt. So anyone who thinks that, maybe you're just realizing now and you're trying to make a correlation. No, I'm telling you right now, you're absolutely dead wrong. I don't care if you think you're super smart or you're a doctor. I'm telling you right now, you're wrong. There's no way that every single channel that you go to, there's always a dog with a dog brace, or every single channel, it's always based around a baby, or every single TV show now is about someone who gets drugged in the TV show and loses their job, or every single TV show that you go to, someone's trunk is popping open, and everyone's asking the person, oh, hey, what's up with your trunk? So that's what's going to happen. You can be a mathematician, like I said, you can be Albert Einstein. If you were to actually take down the statistical rate of these things, every channel you go to, well, you're saying prove it. You can prove it because it's impossible. Just like them mentioning the same foods that you eat, or doing the same things that you do in your house, or all these things the next day, or what you search on your computer, it's impossible. It cannot be a random occurrence for something to keep happening over and over at a super high rate. It's impossible. So it doesn't matter who you are or how smart you think you are. You cannot sit here and tell me that someone's overreacting. No, you're not, because if you look at the statistical rate is what is that it's impossible. It can't happen. So it is proven. And so this is what's happening to people. And so now you start to realize, now why are they doing it? Again, now why is that happening? So now you see all those objects, all the random things that didn't make sense is now coming together. In my case, like I said, I lost my job. But the whole point of it is for the event to occur, and whatever happens to that person, now when they turn on their TV, all those random objects, all those random pictures is going to be playing in some form or another on every TV show. It's going to be based around one of those things. And what is that doing? It's literally just to mock you and to make fun of you after what happened to you. And not only is it just to make fun of you, but it's to let you know that they did it. And not only did they do it, but they set you up. And not only did they set you up, but they set you up for months. Okay? For 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. All those random objects that were placed in the office, you now know and you now realize that all those objects and everything was for setup to set you up, that after you got fired or after whatever incident occurs that happens to someone else, that when you start watching your TV, it's going to be based around all those things, and you're going to know fairly quickly that they're the ones that did it, and somehow you're getting customized television programming. Again, talking more about the customized television and how it works. So now we've noticed that no matter what channel you go to or what show's playing, it's always going to be based around one of those things, Some lady running down the street with a baby, or a dog with a dog brace, or some lady who's pregnant, or the whole show's about some guy's trunk that's popping, or some guy getting drugged and losing his job. Do you see? And again, it's not just someone paying attention. It's that it's too high of a statistical rate. There's no way that every single channel that you go to can be based around one of these things. I want to give you guys an example of kind of show you how this would work, how you would do it. To make it more clear of how this would work, I kind of put together a little example of how this would work and how someone would use it. A little bit easier for it to make sense. So, as an example, I'm just going to make up a scenario of how kind of the same thing that happened to me, but with different objects in a different scenario, and show you how this will play out. So, let's say there's a guy and he's just your average guy who works at, whatever, some business corporation in the area, and he's let's say he's married, just him and his wife, they have a house, they live together, and now this guy, let's say, for instance, the same thing starts happening. He's getting the phone calls when he gets to his house. They start talking about the same things as he does the night before in his house. Okay, then they start bringing in random objects. For instance, I'm going to use an example. Again, I'm just making this up off the wall. Let's say they bring in a dunce cap, a dunce cap, and they put it on his desk, and he goes, "Hey, what's this?" And they go, "Ah, we're just, messing with you. Put a little dunce cap, okay?" And then let's say there's a random picture on the wall, like for instance, some little kid sitting in timeout in the corner or something like that. And again, no saying, no phrase, no nothing. And he goes, "What's up with the little kid in timeout? I don't get it." And they go, "Oh, I don't know. Someone just thought it'd be funny." Okay, again, so you're seeing that random pictures, random objects, they're not making sense. Now let's say in this person's event or scenario that this guy's seeing hookers or something, right? And what happens is that someone sends pictures or something in the mail to his wife, okay? And then in his workplace or something, and that's his event, let's say, right? And then let's say his wife gets mad and finds out that he's been seeing hookers, and she leaves him. She gets a divorce. She takes, all his money, takes his house, and then he loses his job. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how this customized TV would work. So now, let's say, using this guy as an example in the scenario, what happened is that every single channel that this guy goes to and watches, no matter what time, what show, what program, whatever, is that every single TV show is going to be based around one of those things, the events that happen to him, the random objects. So for instance, you'll see a super statistically high rate of people wearing dunce caps, on every TV show or TV commercials. All of a sudden, all these shows, everyone's got dunce caps on. Or now every single TV show that he goes to, there's a little kid who gets timeout, and he's the little kid sitting in the corner or something like that. Or every TV show, the mom's going, "Billy, you go sit in timeout." Okay? Or every TV show's based around some married guy who's sleeping with hookers. Okay? And there's like someone stalking him and taking pictures or something. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Now, think about that. Now, every single TV show that this guy goes, it's all about some guy cheating on his wife with hookers, or a dunce cap, or a kid sitting in timeout, okay? Or then him losing his job, or then it'll be like a wife divorcing her husband and like a new guy moving in. Every single TV show that he goes to is going to be based around one of these things, or a combination of these things. So that's exactly how it worked. And now, as you can see, once you realize that you're getting customized TV, someone's making fun of you, you know that they set you up. It's all about just to try to make you angry and then to make fun of you. And they're basically mocking you and making fun of you after what they already did to you. And then it's basically them laughing at you for what they did. Okay, so that's how it would work out. Now, after that happens, here's the next step in the TV. The bottom line is that you're getting customized television programming, and somebody's doing it, okay? And who's ever doing it knows about what happened to you. And once you realize that, and they know that now what happens is it now becomes a communication device. An example of how this happens is, now anything that you do inside your house without talking, let's say you physically do something that's kind of out of the ordinary. Let's say, for instance, you buy a new painting, and you go into your living room and you start hammering a nail in your living room wall, and then you set that painting up. But what you'll notice is that fairly quickly, as soon as you start watching TV, no matter what show you go to or what channel, fairly quickly you're going to see someone hammering on the wall and putting up a new painting. Another example of how that would work is, let's say you wake up in the morning and you come down the steps, and as you're walking down the steps, there's a basketball at the end of the steps. And when you walk down the steps, you slip on the basketball and then you fall. Well, what you'll notice is that as soon as you turn on the TV, again, no matter what channel or what TV show you go to, again, fairly quickly, no matter what show you go to, there's going to be someone who walks down the stairs and then slips on a basketball, just like you did. And these are just examples of how that works. So without saying anything, it's all about what's happening inside of your house. And you notice that once you see that over and over and over again, that you realize that, no, it's not just you paying attention or making a correlation. I'm telling you right now, you're absolutely dead wrong. And I'm telling you, what it's communicating is that whatever you're doing inside of your house now, they now know. So now what they're basically communicating to you is that we can see everything that you do inside of your house. Again, take something really off the wall, completely random. For instance, let's say you have relatives come over and they have little kids, and the little kids bring over jump ropes and they start jump roping inside of your living room. Okay, when they leave, what you'll get is like a suggested video on your cell phone, on YouTube, and you'll watch it, and what will it be? It'll be a video of little kids jump roping inside of a living room. So again, as you can see, it's not just someone paying attention. No, they're basically directly telling you whatever you're doing inside of your house, we can see it. Alright, so we talked about the customized television programming and how that every channel you go to, it's way too statistically high. It's impossible. There's no way that every channel, every TV show you go to, no matter what time, is always going to be based around one of those things. Now, I also showed you an example with that example I gave you about the other guy with the guy with hookers and all that, and the random objects of how a random scenario would play out, for maybe someone else as an example. And then I also elaborated on how it can be used as a communication device. Once you make that connection and realize that you're getting some form of customized television programming, and who's ever doing it, you obviously know it's way too statistically high of rate, and it's impossible for every TV show to be based around one of these things. And that you also realize that it's about what happened to you, the random objects inside the office, and that you realize that obviously someone knows and someone's doing it on purpose. Again, and like I said, is once you realize that, and then they use that as a communication device, is basically, like I said, the example of someone walking down the steps and slipping on a basketball, or putting up a picture frame, and then all of a sudden right away you get a TV show with someone putting up a picture frame, or then right after someone slips on a basketball, really quick someone's going to slip on a basketball on the steps just like you. Or like I said, relatives come over, a super random occurrence happens, kids jumping rope in the living room, and then they leave, and then fairly quickly you get a suggested video and you watch it, and that video is of kids jump roping inside the room. So again, now what was that trying to communicate? That's trying to say that eventually, after you see that over and over and over again, it's pretty clear. You get the picture that whatever you're doing inside your house, they're trying to communicate with you to tell you that we know what you're doing inside your house now. So not only can we know what you're saying inside your house, now not only are they saying we know what you're saying inside your house, but again, now they're saying we can see inside your house, and we know what you're doing at all times inside of your house. And now again, to further elaborate on that, how they can even communicate more on a different level. So another way they can communicate with you, just like they can see inside your house once you realize you're getting customized television programming, is they change that rate of the shows that you're watching. Once you realize that it's customized, that they can change all the shows again. So you already know that you're getting some form of customized television programming. So again, how that would work is, let's say now you had planned a trip now to Las Vegas, and let's say that trip's like 3 weeks away, and let's say you booked it at MGM Hotel in Las Vegas, and now every single TV show that you go to is going to be about some guy planning a trip to Vegas, and they're going to Vegas, and guess what? Hey, they're staying at the MGM Hotel. And now when every show is based around someone going on a trip to Las Vegas, and they're at the MGM Hotel, and then the whole show is based around someone, some guy following and stalking someone and taking pictures, and then the guy gets drugged. And then every single TV show, again, that you go to, no matter what show or what program, someone's going to Vegas and they're on the strip, and someone's getting drugged, or someone's getting stalked or followed by someone. So again, now once you've made that realization that you're getting customized television, and then they've also tried to communicate with you whatever you're doing inside your house, we can see what they're trying to do is put fear into you, right? Now they're all showing all these shows about Las Vegas, and you're going to Las Vegas, and it's all about the same hotel that you're staying at, and the whole thing's about, someone getting followed and stalked and drugged. Okay, what's happening there is that, right, they're trying to scare you and to make you feel like that when you go to Vegas, that's what's going to happen to you. So again, you know, for anyone else, for doctors or anyone, this is important information, because now not only are you seeing, you're just getting a high statistical rate of things to make fun of you. Once I told you is that once you make that connection, you realize that you're getting customized television. It's now become a communication device. And once that point occurs, right, like I said, is that now you can communicate with someone that whatever they're doing inside their house, you can see inside their house, right? Because now every TV show is something right after they do something you showed on the TV. And then again, so another example of how it becomes a communication device is now they can use it to try to scare you or put fear into you. Like, they know you're going to Vegas, they know what hotel you're staying at, and the whole show is about someone getting followed and stalked and drugged. So they're trying to scare you, like that's what's going to happen to you when you go to Las Vegas. See what I'm saying? So there's a lot of different ways that can play out. And so for doctors or family members or anyone else who see that, and if anyone that you know or relative or family or friend or anyone has ever said anything like what I'm talking about, most likely it's probably a guarantee that this is what happened to them. And that, again, you see that the way that it's done, that no one's going to know what you're talking about, because the way that it's done, again, the random objects, the events that happen to them, no one's going to be able to see it. You can sit down with someone and watch it on TV. And again, like I said, they would have to watch TV for a long time to make that realization that the statistical rate of these TV shows tend to be around the same subjects. So that would take a while, number one. And then number two, the fact that all those incidences and things are based solely on what happened to that person, not to whoever else is watching it. So to get that connection would be really difficult for someone to see that or to understand what you're talking about. But again, to that person, it's clear as day, and they know exactly what's going on. And the other people that are doing it to them know exactly what's going on. It's basically like a little inside joke. You know they know, and they know that you know. And that's basically it. So if you've heard someone say like, oh, when I go on this trip, this is what they're going to do to me. Or, they're making fun of me through the TV. Someone's connecting to my television. See, again, once you've heard my story, and you've seen the way that it plays out, that you know that it's completely strategic, and you can see that it's actually not that difficult, and you can see that this is absolutely what's happening. Again, use this as an example, because this isn't just to help prevent this from happening to someone, but it's also for people who have heard someone say this and they just had no clue what they're talking about, that maybe what they're saying was true. And I would put money on it that if someone said anything like what I'm saying, I would almost guarantee it that this is what happened to them. You got customized television programming. It's all about their incidences, and that it's going to play on every TV show. That's what's happening. And so now that the event occurred, some new signs. So now we got the ads on the computer, based on the random objects, the Superman t-shirt, the dog braces, okay, the baby bottle. It's on all my ads. We now have recognized that I'm getting customized television programming. You see a statistically high rate on every TV show. It's impossible that they're customizing based around those random objects, based around the things that's happened to you. It's on every single channel, no matter what channel or what time. That's what it's going to be. And then I also showed you how it's used as a communication device. Once you make that connection, you realize you're getting customized television, how it's used as a communication device. Now, the next signs and the next tactics and strategies that you're going to see is in your neighborhood, you're going to see tons of lost dog postings, right, on all the street signs and corners in your neighborhood, around your neighborhood, in the area you live. And a lot of times it will be in a mocking fashion where, it's like a little dog with a little top hat, or something like that, like a little fedora on the dog, or something, or like in a little costume. And it's basically, again, just to mock you. And again, it's not that you're just noticing. Now people, see, again, the way that it's done is that if you mention any of these things individually, such as they're saying the same things as me, as what I talked about the night before at my house, or you say something about someone's connecting to the TV, you're getting customized television, or you start saying that there's dog signs, a high number. See, individually, it's not going to make sense to anyone. And then when you start, compiling on top of it the dog signs and the TV and what they're saying, then it really doesn't make sense to anyone, and it's hard for anyone to see that. But this is absolutely what's happening. And again, if you look at from the very beginning how this all rolls out, makes perfect sense, and it's actually not that difficult to do. And this is what's happening. Anyways, so you'll see lost dog signs in your neighborhood, the area you live. Now, all the main grocery store that you go to, there's going to be lost dog signs. All the other stores that you shop around the area, you're going to see all these lost dog signs in a lot of these stores. Another thing is that now you're going to start to see random people. This is where people might start saying like, oh, random people, everyone's in on it. What happens is right when you leave like your house in your neighborhood, you see a statistically high rate now of random people walking dog with dog braces. Right now, every time, almost every day, there's a bunch of people walking around in the neighborhood and in the area that you live, and all these dogs have dog braces on, and they're all walking down the street. Now that what's happening is that every single store that you shop in, you'll tend to notice that right when you're in line, that someone right behind you, for instance, there's a lady in a baby stroller, and you know she's got a baby in there, and there's a big baby bottle sitting in the stroller, you know, and they're right behind you in line. Again, now, you're going to say, well, there's a lot of people with, obviously, there's a lot of ladies with little kids and baby strollers. But again, you're going to notice that it's consistent and it's frequent and it's statistically impossible to just be a random occurrence at every single time you're in line that there's a lady with a, you know, a baby stroller right behind you with a baby and a baby bottle, you know. And then you're also going to notice that random people start saying something, or they will maybe be playing a video or something in your area enough so you can hear it. So example would be, let's say all the stores that you go to, for instance, let's say you go to 5 stores in one day, and that every single cashier, that when you check out, that they mention, whether it's to you or someone in line, that they go, oh, yeah, my dog just had surgery and we had to get one of those dog braces, or I just sent my dog away, or something like that. And that, again, you're going to see that it's way too statistically high to be a random occurrence. And anyone who says that, oh, you're just overreacting, or you're just paying, that's ridiculous. There's no way. That can't happen over and over and over again. That's impossible. So another example, not only will people like cashiers or something like that mention or say something like that, or a random person will be behind you with, you know, a lady with a baby stroller and a baby with a baby bottle. But another example of this would be, let's say you go to the gym and you go and you sit in the sauna. You'll notice that within a couple of minutes, or fairly quickly, that all of a sudden, you know, someone will come and sit down next to you, and they'll pull out their phone and they'll start watching a video, and it'll be like of a dog, you know, in a cage barking, and they're just watching it right next to you, and you can hear it and you can see the video. And again, you say that's a random occurrence, but again, once you realize that it's happening every time you go and sit in the sun, and then someone right away comes in and sits down next to you and then plays a video like that, or it'll be like of a video of a baby crying, again, you're going to start to realize that that's way too statistically high to just be a random occurrence. Now, all of a sudden, that never happens. Now, every time you go in there, that's happening. Okay, so anyone that tells someone, oh, you're just paying attention, no, that's absolutely not true. Another example of how this would work, besides playing a video, again, you'll walk into the sun, and then all of a sudden, within, you know, a few minutes, a couple ladies walk in, and they're like both pregnant or something, and they sit down right next to you. Okay, or someone will be in there, you know, there'll be a couple people and they're talking like, oh, you know, my sister's gonna have a baby soon, or something like that. And again, you're gonna start noticing all these things happening at a statistically high rate, a super high rate, that there's no way that all this can be happening over and over again, day in, day out. That's impossible. When someone tries to explain that and they say that these random people, you know, people aren't gonna understand it. But again, hear the whole story, you see how this thing plays out, and that there's no way it can be a random occurrence. There's absolutely no way. But see, that's the whole point, to discredit someone. But again, there's one rule of thumb here, and that's to stick by, is that at that statistically high rate of everything occurring, it's impossible. So if you can see that, if anyone wants, they say, well, what's the evidence? Well, it's impossible. That's the evidence. It can't happen. Okay? Unless, right? So it can't happen, and it's literally impossible. You can't have something statistically happen over and over at a high rate, unless obviously there's something occurring, right? So it's the same thing if you were to play roulette. Let's say if you played roulette 30 hands a day for, say, 30 days, and all of a sudden, right, with this, and you just play one number each time you play, and every day you play, let's say 25 out of 30 times you play, you got the right number for 30 days straight. Okay, when the odds are 1 out of 38, there's no way. After a while, that happening over and over and over again, there's something wrong there, right? Either someone's cheating, or something's wrong with the table. You can't have a statistically high rate of something occurring, okay, without it being a random occurrence. It's impossible. Okay, especially when you have seen it over and over again, you see that there's obviously a tactic and a strategy that's happening with this. So now we're seeing that there seems to be a whole bunch of random people doing and saying certain things, and it seems to be, again, at way too high of a statistical rate to just be some random occurrence. And now if you tell anyone that, and you say, oh, these people are doing that, they're saying this, they're not going to get it and they're not going to understand it. But again, the only person who's really going to know what's happening to them is to that person. But it goes to show that if people just really actually took more time to listen what people were saying, that they could see that these things are easily and clearly true. Okay, but again, if it was happening to them, they would easily be able to tell. It's not like someone's just overreacting. It's really obvious to the person that it's happening to, and it's not obvious to everyone else, and that's basically how it is. But again, you'll see that it's statistically high rate. It can't every time you go to check out of a register, the person's mentioned something about a dog or a baby or something like that, or the person behind you in a line, it's a lady with a baby stroller and she's pregnant. Okay, it can't. Yeah, obviously that can happen, a random occurrence. It can happen kind of often. I understand that, but again, we're talking consistently over long periods of time. There's no way. There's absolutely no way that can happen. So again, there's obviously something that's going on here, and what it obviously seems to be is that all these people know what happened to you, and either someone's telling them to do this, or they're getting paid to do it, or something like that's obviously happening, because there's no way that all these things can just randomly occurring and it just be a random occurrence. It's not. Okay, and another way how this would work out with like a random occurrence is that when you go out shopping at stores or to a movie or whatever, even if you have a new job and let's say you work in like a retail type store or something like that, again, once you're out and about and around, you're going to also start to notice that a whole bunch of random people where you're standing in line or right next to you, that you're going to see people with really off the wall random t-shirts. And let's say you're in a line in a movie, that the person right in front of you or right in your area, on the back of their t-shirt, it's just like a big baby, with like a baby bottle and says like got milk or something like that. Okay, or you're gonna see someone with a having, again, like a dog shirt with a dog brace on it or something like that. So you'll see that a high statistical rate of these off the wall random t-shirts that again are based around these objects, the baby bottles, babies, dog braces, again, sayings that are completely off the wall, that and you see them over and over again, and it tends to be like, that's really obviously, it's easy to tell that it's not random. Again, so another example of like that, it could just, rather than a picture, could be saying with someone like laying on a couch, and it says like, I could get a job if I wanted to, but I'm just lazy, or something like that, again referring to someone who's jobless. So again, that's how it works. And you see all these things, and you see them every single where that you go, whether it's to the store or like the sauna, or like I said, like or like the sauna in the gym, or at maybe a new work if you're in a retail setting. And so again, you ask yourself this question, if you can easily come to that conclusion that there's no way that all this can be happening consistently day in and day out and it be a random occurrence, that there's only a few conclusions that can come from that. Either these people know what happened to you and they're getting paid to, be around in your area and do these things, or someone's just telling them to do it and they're doing it. But it seems very clear that there's no way all these things can be a random occurrence. It's impossible. It really is. And anyone who thinks otherwise, I don't even know what to tell you, because if it happens to you, believe me, it will be clear as day. It's not someone overreacting. It's not someone freaking out. It is what it is, and it's obviously occurring. And again, so you're seeing that this is what's happening to people. And so that's when you start talking about all these people in on it. That's really when, they're going to think you're freaking out or something like that. But it's clearly not the case. What have we talked about now? So we talked about the event that occurred. And now we're talking about the things that are happening after the events, the new tactics, the new strategies, or just the recognizing of the random objects and things that were happening before your event occurred and that they make sense. And now we're talking about the new strategy. So for instance, the ads on the computer, the customized television TV programming, the lost dog signs in the stores and in your neighborhood, people walking dogs with dog braces, people with t-shirts, random people around you will always be next to you playing a video, or maybe even showing you a video of a a dog barking, a baby crying, something again, or based around one of these incidences. Someone standing behind you in a line and it's like 4 pregnant ladies or something like that. Again, new strategy and new tactics that you're gonna start to notice, and it's gonna be really obvious again to the person, to everyone else. They're gonna be completely oblivious that anything's even going on at all. So the new signs that you're gonna start to see is helicopters. You're gonna get helicopters flying over your house consistently, day in, day out. And we're talking 3, 4, 5, even more times a day, every single day. And again, listen, I know if people say, oh, well, helicopters do fly over your house. I understand that, obviously, okay? And I've noticed that helicopters randomly fly over my house. I get it. But again, the difference is once you see all this occurring, it's not that the person's just noticing it. You're going to see that I've obviously seen helicopters randomly fly over my house. I get it. But the thing is, it's a complete huge shift from before to maybe randomly seeing a helicopter fly over your house to all of a sudden every single day, day in, day out, for weeks at a time, for very prolonged periods of time, weeks, months, that all of a sudden a helicopter is flying over your house, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day. There's no way that it's not just you noticing it, okay? Anyone who says that is obviously doesn't care, and they don't even care to even listen to one thing that you have to say, because if they did, it's obvious and it's clear that this is happening. It's not that you're just noticing it. There's no way. Again, it's clear to that person because you can obviously tell that randomly helicopters fly over my house. I get it. And I understand where people are coming from. And maybe you're just noticing. No. Okay? 2, huge shift to you see it consistently, you see it daily, you see it in high numbers, and it's directly over your house. There's no way that that's just you paying attention to it. So you're going to start noticing that. And I'd also like to point out about the helicopters is that where I live, I'm like in some little town, and I'm like on the outskirts of this little town too. And so basically anything past my house is like, farms and like little cow patties, and then basically it's the mountains. So again, that just goes to show that even on top of even it being clear as day to me, and then you see it day in and day out, that it just another point that doesn't even make sense, that rarely would you ever see a helicopter fly over, in that way and directly over your house, on a random occasion, but you see it every day. It's not like the big cities past my house and they're flying into town. There's nothing out there, and it's just like the mountains. So again, that just doesn't even make sense that, like what are they doing? They're flying over my house and, going out to the mountains and then just do a quick little loop and turn around. I mean, that's ridiculous. Okay, there's no way this is absolutely what's going on and what's happening. And I want people to really stop and think about that right now. That means helicopters are being flown over your house. Just stop and think about that for one reason. Do you realize there's someone that's flying that helicopter? There's other people in the helicopter. It costs people's time, the people getting paid, the money, the gas. That's a lot of effort into flying just to fly over someone's house and to do that on a consistent basis, okay? This is a big concern, that who's going to want to spend all that money, all that time, all that effort, all these man hours just to fly over your house? And anyone who thinks it's like just to freak you out, I'm here to tell you that I think there's even something bigger to it. There's something more to it and bigger to it than what you even think, rather than just trying to freak out with the gang stalking. So because that's a lot of money, a lot of time, like I said, and just to fly over your house. So, and obviously, and so people who say the government's not involved, absolutely. So someone who's flying the helicopter and someone who's telling that person to fly the helicopter absolutely know what's going on, what's happening. They know what's happened to you, and they're doing it on purpose, and they're within the government. This is our government. Our government is now flying helicopters over people's house, spending tons of money and time to do this to people. That's ridiculous. And anyone who says that, oh, you're freaking out, or you're just, you're trying to come up with this, no, I'm telling you right now, that's absolutely ridiculous. You can see it, it's clear as day, and I'm sure there's probably other people that will say the same thing. That yes, you see a random helicopter fly over your house. I get it, I understand. No, I'm not paying attention to it more now. It's when it's really happening, it's flying directly over your house on the daily for weeks, months at a time. It's impossible. Okay, now guys, so now again, another sign, another tactic that you're going to see. You got helicopters, government helicopters that are flying over, wasting everyone's time and money to do this. Now you got even more government spending. You got now all of a sudden see that there's the planes that spread the chemtrails all across the sky are now directly going over my house every single day, day in, day out, and it's all day, and it's way more chemtrails than there's ever been, and it happens to be directly over my house every single day for weeks, months at a time, like I said. Now you're gonna say, oh yeah, they're spraying planes over your house just for you. Yeah, sure. But again, once the person's gonna see it, it's clear as day to that person. And they're going to be, oh yeah, they're wasting all that time just on you. Yeah, you're that special and big, huh? It's like, no, well, the point is that regardless of that reason, they are doing it. Because again, and I know people are going to say, oh, well, there's tons of chemtrails in the sky, and they go out through, and of course, they're so long that they're going to be over your house, I'm sure. They're randomly going to be going over your house. Again, though, it's not like I just realized the chemtrails in the air. I've seen the chemtrails in the air, and I've seen that there's a lot of them, and they make the X patterns in the air, and it's all throughout the county. Again, though, you're going to notice a huge shift, again, from where I see them, and they might tend to be kind of in my area sometimes, okay? Or you notice them out in a different part of the city to directly over your house, and way more than what you've ever seen in a specific area. You see that it's directly over your house. They're spraying directly over your house, sometimes really low, and they're making the X patterns, and it's all directly over your house, directly right in the area, right behind you, in front of you, and directly over your house. It's like they box you in with it and just spray it everywhere. And now again, anyone who say no, you're just overreacting, and you're thinking that there's no way they would do that. Again, though, think about it. From randomly seeing it, and yes, they randomly sprayed over my house. I get it and I understand it. To the huge long strips that happen to just go directly over your house, and it's way more than you've ever seen before. And if there ever was something that flew over your house, you'd notice it on a random occasion. If you did, it wasn't as much. Now we're talking about way more, and it's directly over your house in X patterns all around, directly over your house, and directly in your house's area. So in front of your house, behind it, directly over your house. And it's just way more than you've ever seen. They're spraying a ton. And it's in the X patterns. It's strategically done. Anyone who sits there and thinking you're overreacting, and the same thing with the helicopters. Oh yeah, they're going to fly helicopters over your house. What, just to bother you and freak you out? Oh, and now they're spraying chemtrails, right? But it is happening. That's exactly what's happening, okay? And especially if you listen to the whole story, you'd see that it makes perfect sense, and that's exactly what they're doing. You could probably hear other people saying the same exact thing, and I'm sure it's not just a random coincidence that other people are saying it too. Again, that's money, that's time. Obviously, there's obviously someone in the government knows what's going on, the plane, and they're doing it specifically to you. I think there is a lot more to this than just what you think, like I said, because that's a lot of money and a lot of time just to do that and to freak someone out. So there's more to this, I can guarantee you that. Anyone who's looked into it or heard about it knows that, they say it's geoengineering, and what's funny is that even a lot of people don't even believe that, even though they directly state we're doing a geoengineering, that it bounces the sunlight back away from the earth, and it's geoengineering. But now for people who don't even believe that and think it's something more, whether it's chemical or there's something else involved with it, well, I can tell you right now, it's very apparent. It obviously has something to do with this gang stalking and targeting an individual. So for whatever reason, that those planes are absolutely part of gang stalking and targeting an individual. I can tell you that much right now, because you see a huge shift. And I'll also show you examples. This is just like a couple days of filming, and to show you that this is directly over my house. You'll see that, sure, there can be a lot of chemtrails in the air, but you'll notice, if I want you to take a good look at it and see that it's directly over my house. I mean, that white line, and it's low, and it's a ton of it, and it's directly over my house. So anyone that's saying, you know, and that's just an example. I mean, and this is what I see every day on the daily, and you see that consistently, and you're gonna say you're overreacting? No, there's no way. And like I said, this is a perfect example. Look at it. You can see that the streaks just go directly over my house. I mean, it's directly over my house. And then if you look behind my house, you'll see that there's a ton of them right behind my house and then right in front of my house. And so you see that it's right in front of my house, right in the back side of my house, and then directly over my house, completely right over my house. And again, you'll see that it's not just I'm noticing it, because listen, I understand the chemtrails before, but this is completely different, a huge shift, and it's every day. And again, the way that this is done with everything, every single thing about this, the helicopters, the random people, the TV, the saying the same things that you've been saying, the planes that spray chemtrails, is that no one else is going to recognize any of this except you. And that's the big thing. And so it's hard for anyone to understand that. So now moving on to even more strategies, along with the customized television programming, the ads on my computer, the random people, you know, people saying random off the wall things, people playing videos, people with t-shirts, the helicopters, the chemtrails. Now another new thing is that you'll notice is that when you're gone for long periods of time, that when you come back into your house, whether it's in the main part of your house or in your room, that maybe objects are missing or someone has gone through your stuff. For instance, like I've had clothes ripped, so I've had like underwear and t-shirts that are ripped. And so when I go back into my room, obviously they didn't just randomly rip by themselves. So someone obviously went into my house and ripped my clothes and left. So again, what's that saying? They're going overboard. They're breaking and entering inside your house. They're going inside your house. They're ripping articles of clothing. And stop and think about that right now. So why are they doing that? What's the point of going into someone's house and ripping their clothes or taking a random object that no one's even going to care about? Like a notepad or something like that. Well, the point is, you know, because most people will be like, well, why would someone just take like a notepad? That doesn't even make sense. Well, you're right. It's not about making sense. It's about the point. The point that someone broke into your house and inside your room and took a notepad and stole it, so someone was in your room. That's the point. It's like, it blows my mind. Like, people actually say that, like, well, why would anyone just steal a notepad? That's kind of stupid. They wouldn't do that. And I go, well, you're right. Well, why would they do that? Well, if you go inside someone's house and steal something, what is that telling you? That means they went inside your house, they went inside your room, and they took something. And what's that basically telling you? To let you know that they're going inside your house, that they have access inside your house. Okay, and now they're taking objects. And also, too, it's just another way that when you tell someone something like they stole a notepad, you know, that sounds stupid. Like, why would anyone do that? But again, it's just to let you know that they have access to your house. They're going inside your house. Another thing would be going inside your car. You go inside to the gym, for instance, or work, or a movie, or whatever, and you come out. You know, a few times that happened to me where I go in somewhere, I come out, and all of a sudden my windows rolled down, and like my passenger mirrors flipped down when no one was even in my passenger seat, and my windows rolled up. So someone obviously rolled down my window. Someone obviously flipped that. And again, so people say, well, why would anyone do that? Why wouldn't they steal anything or break anything? Well, obviously, the reason they're doing it is to let you know that they have access to your car, or they have access to your house, that they're going inside your car, right? To make you feel like, oh, they're going inside your stuff to try to freak you out. All right, so now some other things after the event that I want to talk about. During this time, right after this incident had happened, I also had got blood work done. It wasn't your typical blood work, and I didn't go to a doctor to get it. There's actually a way that you can order your own blood work. I'm not going to get in the details of that, but basically there's a way that you can order your own blood work, pick out their specific panels that you want done, and that's what I did. So I had picked out specific panels on my blood work that I wanted, and I ordered that blood work myself because I obviously was drugged. Like I said, I picked out specific panels on my blood work, and I ordered those myself. I didn't go to a doctor, and a doctor didn't order the lab work. No, I did it myself, and then I went to the lab to get my blood drawn. Here's the funny thing. So I go there to get this blood work done, and now the guy who's there, who basically all he does is just take your blood and that's it, You know, he's not even a doctor. He just there and pulls people's blood and sends it off to the laboratory. So I go there, and the thing is that this guy doesn't know that I ordered my own blood work. And so as I'm getting my blood work done, he goes, "Can I send some of your blood to get drug tested?" And I'm like, that's weird. And see, he probably, you know, maybe he thought like I went to a doctor and the doctor like or asked him to, you know, send in some more panels for blood work to get done. But the thing is, I ordered it myself. And so the fact that this guy's asking me like, can he get an extra sample of my blood to send off to get tested for drugs, that doesn't even make sense at all. I mean, it absolutely makes zero sense whatsoever. So why would this random guy, you know, who's probably even roughly maybe a little bit older than me, who all he does is just draw people's blood at the local laboratory and send it off, that doesn't even make sense. Why would this guy want a sample of my blood and then send it off to get drug tested? That doesn't even make sense at all. Okay? And I was just laughing to myself because I knew the reason why. Because obviously I ordered my own blood work. It's not like my doctor called up and, "Hey, can you add this panel, you know, to his blood work too?" No. So I ordered my own blood work. So think about that. So what does that mean? That means what? There's only a couple things that means. That this guy, you know, Billy Bob over here, you know, who all he does is draw people's blood, and, you know, that's all he does. He's not even a doctor. He wants a sample of my blood to drug test it. Why would you want a sample of my blood to drug test it? So that either means this guy who's not even a doctor and not my doctor and has no reason why I'm even there, he wants a sample of my blood, and what? He's going to read over my paperwork and look at it, which he can't even do anyways because he's not a doctor and he didn't prescribe my blood work. So that doesn't make sense. So what would be the only other reason? Well, someone obviously told him to do that. So obviously someone knew that I was going there to get my blood work drawn, and they obviously told this guy to get an extra sample of my blood, and probably so they could take my sample of my blood and then he send it off to some other laboratory so they could test the blood and come up with a conclusion and answer to what was in my blood work so they could either, you know, rig it up or have an answer to what happened to me when I come back with my blood work. See, I had skipped the middleman because I didn't go to a doctor. I'm sure they would have loved for me to go to a regular doctor and have this guy go, "Oh, yeah, I'm sure nothing's wrong," and then order some blood work that doesn't even make sense, that won't show anything. But they didn't know that I ordered my own blood work, so they probably freaked out and go, "Oh, call the laboratory. Tell this guy over here to get an extra sample of his blood and ask him if he wants it blood tested." So think about that. That's obviously what happened. I mean, because why? What? He doesn't want my blood work, and anyways, he legally can't even. Why would he want my blood work? So like I said, it's obviously someone called this guy or told him or whatever. This guy came in there and obviously was told to get my blood, and obviously it's clear that they probably sent it off somewhere else. So, and again, just like my conclusion, which I expected, that none of that makes sense unless someone told them that, is that I never even got that blood work back. I got the blood work that I ordered back, but the blood work that he said he wanted drug tested, I never got that back. Where's my where's my drug tested blood work? See, so again, got people who think this is just because what I'm saying right now, that doesn't even make sense. So where'd my blood work go? Why does he want it? Okay, it's clear as day. Someone told him to get an extra sample of my blood so they could send it off to a different laboratory and have an answer to what was in my blood work, and so they could rig it up. Also, another thing that happened, so during this time, I'd taken off like, a couple, 3 months or whatever, and I just hadn't really been going to the gym. Also, just hadn't been eating as much as well, too, just because I wasn't working out as much. So around this time that this all happened, I was only probably like 165 pounds, 160 pounds. And typically, like, I'll be like maybe around like 180, and that's if I'm like eating consistently and going to the gym. Like the most I've ever weighed was 190 pounds, and that was like eating a lot and consistently and going to the gym. But anyways, like I said, around this time I hadn't really been going to the gym, and because of that I hadn't really been eating as much. So the combination of the two, I was like 165 pounds at the time this all happened. And after this happened, within like 2 to 3 months, I gained 40 pounds. So I went up from You know, I went from 160, I went around from 160 up to 200 pounds. And I've never even been 200 pounds in my life. And that's even when I'm consistently eating and going to the gym, I never even hit 200 pounds. And the thing is, I was at 160. The weirdest part about it is, so I gained up to over 40 pounds in like a super short period of time, like 2 months. And I know people are going to be, oh, well, maybe you were just eating too much, you know, and you weren't recognizing. No, that's definitely not it. I can guarantee you that, because, listen, when this happened, I was around 165 pounds, 160 pounds. When I gained 40 pounds over this like super short amount of time, within like a couple of months, maybe a few months, I gained 40 pounds. So whatever drug they gave me, I gained 40 pounds. And when this occurred, like I said, when I was 165 pounds, 160 pounds, I was actually eating less than at the time when I was 165 pounds when this all happened. I was eating less. I was eating less food than when I was 165 pounds. And I went up to 200 pounds. I gained 40 pounds eating less food when I was 160. So whatever drug they gave me, I obviously gained a ton of weight in a short period of time. So obviously that didn't just happen naturally. And no, maybe I was eating too much. No, I absolutely 100% can guarantee it wasn't, I was maybe eating too much. No, I was eating less than I was even when I was 165 pounds. So, I mean, I could only imagine if I had been eating normal, like I normally do. I mean, who knows then. And also another thing that happened is I had a plantar wart on the bottom of my left foot. I mean, for probably like 8+ years. And I mean, it was a big one. Over the years, it just got bigger and bigger, and it was like deep into my foot. I mean, it almost felt like it could be like almost like a half-inch deep into my foot. And every time I walked, I mean, it really hurt. And over the course of the years, like I said, it got bigger and bigger, and I was actually starting to spread to different parts of my foot around this time. And it was the biggest it had been. And I know people, oh, well, maybe it just fell off and no, I'm telling you again right now, because this was something, I've even tried stuff on this thing over the course of 8+ years, and nothing ever did anything to it. In fact, it only just grew bigger and bigger and bigger. Never did it ever, nothing ever helped it. And it never got smaller. And again, right after this happened, within like 2 weeks, all of a sudden, my plantar wart that'd been there for 8+ years, that's big and spreading all over my foot, it just disappears and it's gone, and it fell right off, and my skin is peeling, and now it's still gone. And so again, I gained 40 pounds, I lost my wart on my foot. There's all these, whatever drug, I obviously, again, like I said, got something, and these are some more of the symptoms of. Another weird thing that I want to point out too is that, and I live in a little small gated neighborhood, and I mean, it's probably maybe like 1/8 of a mile, if that even, if you were to stretch out the cultists, the ring around this gated community, the street, it's probably not even that long. I mean, it's a really small circle gated community. You'll start to notice that right when you leave your house, all of a sudden people will leave at the exact same time. And I know people are going to be, oh, well, you're just noticing it. And obviously there's a lot of people in your neighborhood, people leave at the same time. But no, I'm telling you, again, over the course of time, you'll see that all of a sudden they leave at the same time. And or like right when you leave your neighborhood, someone will pull in at the exact same time. You'll also notice that like right when you come home, someone will leave your house, like your neighbor, right when you pull up. And you see that over and over and over and over again. And it's fairly odd that this are random occurrences like that. And again, another type of example of this would be like often, I mean fairly often, right when I leave the neighborhood, all of a sudden this car would come in and be like a van type car, and it would say like home security cameras, audio surveillance, all this, and every time, and right as I'm leaving, they'd pull in, you know, and that would happen all the time. Like right when I leave the gate, I'd see them pull in, and again, it was like as if like these are the people who are tapping my house or something, and or as I leave that they're going in to go inside my house. So again, weird things like that are happening. And another thing that happened right after this all occurred in my neighborhood, probably like within a month or two, all of a sudden out of nowhere, when no one really even moved. There was never any houses up for sale. All of a sudden, out of the blue, out of nowhere, within like I said, 1 or 2 months, all of a sudden like 4 or 5 houses all go up on sale at the same time right around me. Like my neighbor right over here, the neighbor across the street, right in my direct vicinity, like 4 or 5 houses, they just all spring up. And they're all for sale, and then they're out of there, and they're gone like within, and they all sell their house and they're moved out, all of them, all at the same time, and they all did it fairly quickly, like within a month, and they're all gone. It's like, and again, was super odd. It didn't even make sense that, you know, randomly there's hardly any houses for sale in this small gated community, and then all of a sudden there's 5 houses go for sale at the same time, and they all just hurry and book out of town, and you know. That's what it looks like, because they were just gone really quickly. Another thing that happened is the medical clinic that I was going to, I was being told I was being investigated by the FBI. Okay, within again a few months or whatever, right after this incident occurred, all of a sudden the clinic shuts down. The medical clinic I was going to was shut down. So again, you look at all these things and these, you know, random occurrences. No, that also the medical clinic that I've been going to, I had been going to for years, and it had been there for years. And then again, right after this happens to me, all of a sudden the clinic just is closed down within a couple months. Okay, again, it just goes to show that what they were saying and everything that was taking place, obviously, it was investigated by the FBI. And I would find it fairly odd, right, that all these things happened and occurred to me when I was told there was an FBI investigation. That the medical clinic mysteriously shuts down a couple months after all this happens, you know, everything else that's taking place. It's clear to see that, yes, there was an FBI investigation, and obviously the FBI and other government employees were involved in this. So that's clear as day. Some other things to point out, just some other things to add. You'll notice around this time when you start getting the customized television that the cable box would just totally start winding up. It would just make a winding up sound like meh, and it would be super loud. As long as it'd be on, it'd almost do that constantly. And so that was another weird thing that obviously seemed to notice, like someone maybe had tampered with it or something like that. After all this had occurred, and me losing my job, and I'd never talked to anyone about what happened. They didn't even know what happened. So about the reason why I actually, you know, ended up losing my job. So you know, people who I went to lunch with and who I talked to, you know, all the time, or texted daily or whatever, or frequently at least, all of a sudden, right after all this happens, you dead silent. Like, just no one even calls, no one even sends one text, not even like, oh, sorry that you got fired, or, you know, oh, I can't believe that happened. What happened? Why'd you get fired, right? That doesn't even make sense. Again, it's just another one of those little tactics that, you know, to let you know that they did it and they were the ones that did it. Because you see before all the random objects and everything, and, you know, people who you talk with on, you know, consistently on the phone or text, and then you get fired and they don't even respond. They don't even call you or text you or nothing, not even one text, right? That doesn't even make sense, right? Like, a normal reaction would be if someone gets fired, you know, you might say like, oh, sorry, I can't believe that happened, you know, like, oh, sorry to hear what happened. Nothing. No one even responded. Again, like I said, it's just another thing to let you know that they did it and they know what happened to you, just to say they just cut off communication, right? So that's another thing, like, we did it and they just stopped talking to you. So again, you see, these are just another little things to point out. A couple other things to point out is about, you know, the random objects in the office and doing the same things that you do the next day, or the same things you talk about in your house, they talk about the next day. A couple other things that happen, just as examples. I mean, this is just a few out of tons, because this happened pretty much all the time. But I'm just giving you a few more examples. Another one was that I had been looking for a new car and I really wanted like a Sonata. I didn't tell anyone that. And I had tried to get like a Sonata, but, you know, I just, the loan didn't go through or whatever. And so all of a sudden, like within a few days after I went to go get Sonata, a new car, all of a sudden someone from my work pulled it. Oh, I just got a brand new Sonata. Or they go, oh, I just bought a Sonata. and it was like right around the same exact year that I had been looking at this car. And you know, we hardly ever do like a group like breakfast or whatever at this point in time, and all of a sudden, I think it probably was even the first time, and then, oh, let's all go to breakfast in the Sonata. And so let's all go to breakfast. I'll drive my car, and we drive, and it's a Sonata, and it's like the same exact car that I had just looked at. And again, you might say, oh, well, you're just paying attention and you're thinking of, but again, when you see that all these strategies, it seems that it's obvious. Another example would be, let's say you're looking up, you know, things on YouTube, videos you're watching. For instance, I had been looking up straight razors on YouTube, and again, around that time, right around looking up that, all of a sudden someone, oh, I've been thinking about getting, you know, a straight razor cut, you know, at the barber or something like that. And it's just like, there's again another example that they know what you're doing on your computer. They know the emails that you're sending, what your videos you're watching, and that's another thing that they'll repeat the next day or within a couple of days, just like the same things that you say inside your house. So everything's monitored. The what you're saying inside your house, your emails on your computer, videos you're watching on your computer, anything that you're doing on your computer, they know. Anything that you're doing inside your house, they know. So really the whole point of this thing is to like make you feel uncomfortable, and that to make you feel